5 years had passed since Earth's moon vanished from the solar system, taking billions of humans with it. The planet itself now orbited the sun with only a skeleton crew of caretakers who maintained the ecological recovery projects. Most of the remaining humans had left through the gateways to new colonies across the galaxy. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council chamber was in session again. The topic, as it had been for much of the past 5 years, was the human situation. High Counselor Maz Tour looked much older now. His once bright blue skin had faded to a dull gray. He leaned heavily on the podium as he addressed the council. The latest reports confirm that human settlements continue to appear beyond our mapped regions, he said tiredly. At least 37 new colonies have been detected. They appear to be thriving. And what of their technology? Asked the Voldurian representative. Ilara Tolvan, now the head of the Council's Science Division, answered, "Human gateway technology has advanced beyond our understanding. They can create stable wormholes virtually anywhere. This has made our jump gate network." She paused, looking for a diplomatic word, somewhat obsolete. Murmurs filled the chamber. The jump gate network had been the foundation of Council power for thousands of years. Now, trading ships from many species were choosing to use human transport services instead, which were faster and cheaper. There are also reports, continued Ilara, of human traders visiting worlds throughout Council space. They offer advanced technology and medical treatments without the usual Council restrictions. "This undermines our authority," barked the Krex representative. His species had lost the most influence since humans left. Their military ships, once feared, were now considered outdated compared to what humans were selling. Maztor raised his hands for quiet. "We must face reality. Our attempt to contain humanity failed completely. Now we must adapt to a galaxy where they are a major power." He looked around the chamber. "I propose we send a diplomatic mission to establish formal relations with the Human Confederation, as they now call themselves. We should offer them full Council membership and equal status." After much debate, the Council voted to approve the mission. 20 ships were prepared, carrying the highest-ranking diplomats from the Council. They set out for the coordinates where human representatives could supposedly be contacted. When they arrived, they found empty space. No stations, no outposts, nothing but distant stars. As they prepared to leave, a small human ship appeared suddenly through a gateway that opened and closed in seconds. The lone pilot transmitted a message from William Carter, now called Coordinator of External Affairs for the Human Confederation. The Council delegation watched as Carter's familiar face appeared on their screens. "Greetings, Council representatives," he said. "We received word of your approach. I appreciate the journey you've made to find us. We wish to offer the Human Confederation full membership in the Galactic Council," said the lead diplomat, "with all rights and privileges." Carter smiled. "That's a generous offer, but I'm afraid we must decline. The Council had its chance to accept us as equals for many decades. That time has passed. Then how shall we establish relations?" asked the diplomat. "We remain open to equal partnerships with individual species," Carter replied. "Many have already joined us in creating a new coalition based on mutual respect rather than age or power. Your gatekeeping days are over." The transmission ended, leaving the Council delegation confused and worried. When they returned to Nexus Prime, they found more troubling news waiting. During their absence, ships from 23 different species had quietly left Council space. Records showed they were following coordinates provided by human traders. Maztour sat alone in his office after receiving the report. On his desk was a data pad showing historical records he'd been studying. One passage from an ancient human philosopher named George Santayana was highlighted. "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." The High Counselor understood now. The Council had repeated the same mistake that powerful empires on Earth had made throughout human history. They had looked down on those they considered less advanced, never recognizing the potential and determination of those they dismissed. He looked out at the stars visible through his window. Somewhere out there, humanity was building something new, and the Galactic Council, for all its age and wisdom, had missed its chance to be part of it. Too late, Maztor whispered to himself. It's too late to repair it now. William Carter stood tall as he walked into the grand chamber of the Galactic Council. The circular room stretched wide with seats for over 200 alien representatives. Massive windows showed the stars and 3 moons of Nexus Prime. Carter straightened his blue suit jacket and took a deep breath. This was humanity's 8th attempt to gain full membership in the last 30 years. Behind him walked his team. Dr. Lisa Brooks, the chief science advisor, and Jack Nelson, Earth's military liaison. Their faces were calm, but their eyes showed the same worry Carter felt. They all knew what was likely to happen today. The Earth delegation may approach, announced High Counselor Maztor. The tall, 4-armed Voldurian's voice echoed through the chamber. His skin glowed with a faint blue light, a sign of his species' ancient lineage. Carter walked forward, his footsteps echoing on the polished stone floor. Honorable Council, I come before you again to present Earth's petition for full membership status. For 53 years, humans have been part of this galactic community as observers. We have followed your laws, traded fairly, and contributed to scientific research. We believe we have earned the right to vote on matters that affect us all. Whispers filled the room. Many of the alien representatives looked away or focused on their data screens. Carter had seen this reaction before. Ambassador Carter, said Maztor, your species continues to show remarkable progress. However, the assessment committee has concerns about your developmental stage. Humans still show signs of tribal thinking and resource competition. From the side of the chamber, an Ardani representative stood up. Her name was Ilara Tolvan, and she had been one of the few consistent supporters of human membership. With respect, High Counselor, humans have maintained peace on their world for over 40 years. Their technology now matches Level 3 standards. By our own rules, they qualify for membership. Maztor flicked his upper right hand dismissively. The rules allow for judgment calls when stability is in question. Carter felt his face grow warm, but he kept his expression neutral. May I ask what specific benchmarks humanity needs to meet? The last 3 assessments have given different reasons for denial. That is not how the process works, Ambassador, said Zithari Counselor Nexbatu, his insect-like mandibles clicking with each word. The Council must consider the whole picture of a species' development. Carter nodded slowly. And how long does the Council suggest we continue as mere observers of decisions that affect our future? Perhaps another 50 years of observation would be appropriate, said Maztor. Your kind is still very young. The Council chamber filled with murmurs of agreement. Carter noticed how the older species, those who had helped form the Council thousands of years ago, seemed most opposed to human membership. I call for the vote, announced Maztor. The voting took less than 5 minutes. The result appeared on the large screen above the Council floor. 173 against full membership, 28 in favor, 14 abstentions. The petition is denied, Maztor said. Earth will maintain its observer status. The Council appreciates your patience as your species continues to mature. Carter bowed slightly. Thank you for your consideration. As the Earth delegation turned to leave, Ilara Tolvan approached them near the exit. I am sorry, Ambassador. Many of us fought for your case. Carter smiled at her. Thank you for your support, Counselor. Earth appreciates those who see our potential. What will you do now? She asked. We will consider our options, Carter replied simply. Outside the chamber, when they were alone in the transport corridor, Dr. Brooks turned to Carter. That's it then. Another denial with no clear path forward. Carter reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. It was a simple communicator, black with a single red button. He pressed it firmly. What are you doing? Jack Nelson asked. Sending the signal, Carter said, his voice now different, firmer, more resolved. The President needs to know the Council's answer. And Brooks asked. "One word," Carter replied. "Proceed." Nelson's eyes widened. "So we're really doing it, after all these years of planning?" Carter nodded as he put the device away. "The Council has made their position clear. They'll never see us as equals. It's time for Plan B." "The Exodus," Brooks whispered. "Yes," Carter said. "Humanity is leaving." Ilara Tulvan sat at her private console in the Ardeni embassy on Nexus Prime. Her four-fingered hands moved quickly over the holographic display as she reviewed shipping reports from the last 3 months. Something was different about human space traffic, and it worried her. "Computer, show me mineral shipments to Earth compared to last year," she said. The screen filled with charts. The numbers had tripled. Earth was importing massive amounts of rare metals and fusion materials. Even more strange, their exports of luxury goods and entertainment had dropped by 60%. Ilara leaned back in her chair. The humans were planning something big, and after yesterday's council vote, she had a feeling it wasn't good. She requested a meeting with High Counselor Maztur, but had to wait 2 days before being granted a short session. "You have 15 minutes, Counselor Tulvan," Maztur said as she entered his office. "I have the Proxima trade agreement to review today." "This is important, High Counselor," Ilara said. She sent her data to his screen. "Human activity has changed dramatically since their last petition was denied." Maztur glanced at the numbers. "They're building something, probably military vessels to show strength for their next petition." "This is different," Ilara insisted. "They're also quietly pulling their people from outposts across the galaxy. 23 human cultural centers have closed in the last month. Their embassy staff here has been reduced by half. They're having a tantrum," Maztur said, waving 2 of his 4 hands dismissively. "Humans always react emotionally when they don't get their way. They'll calm down." "What if they don't?" Ilara asked. "What if they're planning to leave galactic space altogether?" Maztur laughed. "And go where? The only safe travel routes are through our jump gate network. Beyond that is unmapped space full of dangers they can't handle." "We should not underestimate them," Ilara warned. "Your time is up, Counselor," Maztur said. "I suggest you worry less about humans and more about your own sector's trade issues." As Ilara left, she couldn't shake the feeling that the Council was making a terrible mistake. On Earth, Susan Miller walked through the massive underground facility beneath the old NASA headquarters. As the director of what was publicly known as the Deep Space Initiative, she had overseen the secret Exodus protocol for 15 years. "Status report," she said to her deputy, Greg Allen. "The lunar construction crews are ahead of schedule," Greg said as they walked past hundreds of engineers and scientists working at their stations. "Engine installation is at 70%. The Mars colony ships are ready for loading." Susan nodded. "And the Jupiter operation?" "Complete. All 16 moons are equipped with the drive systems. They're just waiting for the activation codes." They stopped at a large window overlooking an enormous hangar. Inside, workers swarmed around what looked like a small city designed to fly through space. "Arc 7 is almost ready," Greg said with pride. 30,000 people can live comfortably inside for the journey." "How many arcs will be ready when we launch?" Susan asked. "At least 20, maybe 25 if we push the Asian and European facilities." Susan checked her watch. "The President is addressing the world in 1 hour. After that, we go public with everything." "How do you think people will react?" Greg asked. "Most will be shocked, then excited," Susan said. "We've been preparing them with entertainment and education programs for decades. The idea of leaving to find our own path is already popular." "And the Council?" Greg asked. "They'll try to stop us," Susan said simply. "But it's too late. We've been working on this since our first petition was denied 50 years ago." She looked at the activity around her. The culmination of humanity's greatest secret project. "Tell all facilities to begin Phase 2, she ordered. "President Daniel's speech will mark the point of no return." Greg nodded and walked away to relay the orders. Susan turned back to the window. Beyond the Ark, engineers were testing a small version of the new drive system, technology the Council believed was centuries beyond human capability. They never took the time to really know us, she whispered to herself. That was their mistake. On screens throughout the facility, President Olivia Daniels appeared, standing at a podium with a simple blue background. My fellow citizens of Earth, she began. Today I must share with you a truth that will change our future forever. Kevin Wright moved carefully through the quiet halls of the Council archives. His job as a junior aide gave him access to most sections, but what he planned to do today would get him arrested or worse. He checked his watch. The night shift guards would change in 3 minutes, giving him a small window to enter the restricted zone. Kevin had worked undercover for Earth intelligence for 5 years. Today's mission was his most important yet. When the security lights blinked during the guard change, Kevin pressed his hand against a panel and used a special device hidden in his palm. The door clicked open, and he slipped inside. The restricted archives held the Council's most private records. Kevin moved to a terminal and plugged in a small device that would bypass the security protocols. He had 10 minutes before the system would detect the intrusion. "Come on," he whispered as ancient files appeared on the screen. He searched quickly for records about Earth and humans. There were thousands of documents, but one folder caught his attention. Species Threat Assessment. Human. Kevin opened it and began downloading the contents. As the files copied, he scanned through them. What he read made his stomach turn. The Council had been lying for decades. The first document from 70 years ago showed that humans had already met all requirements for membership back then, but a secret vote had been taken to keep Earth isolated. One report stated, human adaptability and innovation rates exceed all known species. If allowed equal access to galactic technology, they could reach dominance within 3 generations. Another document from the Military Council read, humans display concerning traits. They unite quickly when threatened and advance rapidly during conflicts. Recommendation: keep them contained but not hostile. Deny membership while appearing supportive. Kevin found records of technologies that had been deliberately kept from Earth, medical advances that could have saved millions of human lives, and star maps showing resource-rich systems that had been hidden from human explorers. The worst discovery was a contingency plan titled Human Containment Protocol, a detailed strategy to militarily blockade Earth if humans ever developed independent jump gate technology. The device beeped, indicating the download was complete. Kevin pulled it out and carefully erased signs of his presence from the terminal. He had what he needed, proof of the Council's deception. As he made his way back to his quarters, Kevin encrypted the data and sent it through a series of relays that would eventually reach Earth. His cover was likely blown after this, but it didn't matter now. The truth was more important. President Olivia Daniels stood in the Oval Office, reviewing the files that had just arrived from Kevin Wright. Her face grew darker as she read each document. "Is this verified?" she asked her Chief of Staff, Ben Rogers. "Yes, Madam President. Our analysts confirmed the documents are authentic Council records." Olivia walked to the window and looked out at the White House lawn. "They've been lying to us all along, not just denying us membership, actively working to keep us down. The exodus is our only option now," Ben said. Director Miller reports we're ahead of schedule. Olivia nodded. "Prepare the second part of my address. The people need to know what we've discovered." An hour later, screens around the world showed the president again. This time, her expression was resolute. "Citizens of Earth, I must now share disturbing information we have recently uncovered. The Galactic Council has deliberately kept humanity isolated. They feared our potential and worked to limit our growth while pretending to be our mentors." She explained about the secret files and showed redacted portions that wouldn't compromise their source. "For generations, we believed we were working toward acceptance in a community of equals. Today, we know the truth. There was never going to be a place for us at their table." The president's voice grew stronger. But humanity will not be contained. We will not beg for scraps from those who fear our potential. Instead, we will forge our own path among the stars. She revealed the Exodus project to the world. Not all details, but enough to show its scale and ambition. Starting today, we accelerate our departure plans. Earth will not remain under the thumb of those who deceived us. We go not as refugees, but as pioneers. Across the planet, people watched in shock, then growing determination. In homes, offices, and public squares, the words spread. We're leaving. We're going to find our own way. Commander Xinvar stood on the bridge of the Galactic Council flagship, the Eternal Vigilance. Through the main viewport, he could see the blue planet called Earth growing larger. Behind his ship flew 20 other Council vessels, the largest fleet sent to this region in over a century. We are approaching Earth's outer defense perimeter, Commander reported his second-in-command. Xinvar nodded. His orders from High Counselor Maztur were clear. Find out what the humans were building and stop any attempt to leave Council space. Open communications with their defense forces, Xinvar ordered. Instead of a military officer, the screen showed a calm-looking human in a dark suit. This is Alan Martinez, Earth Defense Secretary. How can I help you, Commander? Xinvar was surprised by the casual greeting. I am Commander Xinvar of the Galactic Council Security Fleet. We have detected unusual activity in your system. Explain your actions. Martinez smiled slightly. We're exercising our sovereign right to develop and travel within our own solar system, Commander. Nothing in our observer status prevents this. Our scans show massive construction projects throughout your system, Xinvar said. Particularly concerning are the drive systems being attached to your moon and several moons of Jupiter. As I said, we're within our rights, Martins replied. We've decided to pursue our own path of development. Xinvar frowned. You are building ships to leave Council space. This requires approval. Actually, it doesn't, Martins said, his voice still friendly but firm. We've reviewed all Council laws. Observer species are only required to follow Council regulations within Council territories. We're simply choosing to go elsewhere. The commander felt his temper rising. Your ships must use Council jump gates for safe passage between stars. You have no alternative. Martinez just smiled. I think you'll find that's no longer the case, Commander. The communication ended, leaving Xinvar staring at a blank screen. Sir, his sensor officer called out. You need to see this. The main screen switched to show Earth's moon. Massive engines now covered 1/3 of its surface. More alarming were the strange energy readings coming from them, unlike any propulsion system the Council used. Move the fleet closer to Earth, Xinvar ordered. Establish a blockade pattern around their planet and moon. As the Council ships approached, hundreds of smaller human vessels rose from Earth. They didn't attack, but they didn't stop either. They simply moved around the Council ships as if they weren't there. Sir, they're ignoring our blockade formation, reported the tactical officer. Fire warning shots across their path, Xinvar commanded. Energy beams flashed in front of several human ships. The vessels paused briefly, then continued on their original courses. Xinvar opened communications again. This time, a different human appeared, a woman in a military uniform. This is Admiral Kelly Wright of Earth Space Force. Please do not fire your weapons in our space. Your ships must return to Earth, Xinvar demanded. The Council has not authorized this activity. Admiral Wright's expression remained neutral. We don't need authorization, Commander. We are leaving Council space, not requesting access to it. Please move your fleet to avoid accidents. If you continue, I will be forced to take action, Xinvar warned. That would be unwise, Wright replied. Look to your sensors. Xinvar turned to his sensor display and froze. Thousands of human defense platforms had just activated around the system. His fleet was surrounded. We don't want conflict, Wright continued, but we will defend our right to leave. You are guests in our system, Commander. I suggest you observe respectfully or depart. Sinvar knew his fleet, though powerful, could not win against these numbers. We will maintain position and observe, he said stiffly. A wise choice, Wright replied. You'll have quite a show to report back to the council. Over the next hours, Sinvar and his crew watched in stunned silence as more human ships emerged from Earth. The construction around the moon accelerated. Most shocking were the strange ripples in space appearing near Jupiter, energy patterns unlike anything in council records. Sinvar sent an urgent message to Nexus Prime. Humans have developed unknown propulsion and possibly new FTL technology. They are preparing for system-wide departure. Request immediate council response. The situation is beyond our control. The emergency council session was the largest gathering in 50 years. Representatives from all 215 member species filled the grand chamber on Nexus Prime. The room buzzed with worried voices. High Counselor Maz Tor raised all four of his arms for silence. We have called this session to address the human situation. Commander Sinvar's report is deeply concerning. Ilara Tolvan stepped forward. With the Council's permission, I have prepared an analysis of human technological development that may explain what Commander Sinvar witnessed. Proceed, Maz Tor said. Ilara activated the central display. It showed images of human ships and their new propulsion systems. For the past decade, we believed humans were developing along predictable lines. Our assessment teams reported only moderate advances in their technology. We were wrong. The display changed to show energy readings. These patterns suggest humans have mastered gravity manipulation at a level beyond even the Zitheri. They appear to have developed this in secret, hiding their true progress from our observers. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The Zitheri representative, Nexvachu, clicked his mandibles in alarm. Impossible. They cannot have surpassed our science. The evidence suggests otherwise, Ilara replied. She showed more data. Most concerning is this energy signature from Jupiter's moons. It appears to be a form of spatial folding, possibly a new type of faster-than-light travel that doesn't require our jump gate network. The chamber erupted in shock. The jump gate network was the Council's greatest advantage. It controlled all safe interstellar travel. All member species depended on it. If humans can travel without jump gates, they could go anywhere, said a representative from the Krex Imperium. A militaristic species. They could establish colonies beyond our influence or monitoring. Exactly, Ilara said. And based on the scale of their construction, they intend to move much of their population, perhaps even their entire species. Maz Tor looked troubled. How did they develop these technologies without detection? They hid their research, Ilara explained. Our assessment teams only saw what humans wanted them to see. Meanwhile, they built hidden facilities throughout their system. The real work happened out of sight. The Krex representative stood up. This cannot be allowed. Humans must not leave with such technology. It threatens the stability of the galactic order. Many council members shouted their agreement. I propose immediate military action. The Krex continued. We must secure these technologies for the Council. Before Maz Tor could respond, the main screen changed. A human face appeared, a woman with gray hair and glasses. Greetings, Council members, she said calmly. I am Dr. Karen Nelson, Chief Science Director of Earth's Exodus program. I thought you might be discussing us today. How did you access our secure channel? Maz Tor demanded. Dr. Nelson smiled. The same way we developed what you call spatial folding, through innovation you didn't believe we were capable of. She gestured, and the view widened to show her standing in a large control room. Behind her, screens displayed the solar system and hundreds of human ships in motion. I wanted to correct some misunderstandings, she continued. We are not trying to threaten the Council. We simply wish to find our own path. Since you made it clear we would never be welcomed as equals, we decided to look elsewhere. Your technology must be shared with the Council, the Krex representative shouted. It is too dangerous in the hands of an immature species. Dr. Nelson's expression hardened slightly. Our technology is ours to use as we see fit. We developed it without your help. In fact, despite your active hindrance. She touched a control, and the view changed to show a small probe near Jupiter. Something strange happened around it. Space itself seemed to fold, creating an opening that hadn't been there before. This is a demonstration of what you call spatial folding, Dr. Nelson explained. We call it the Nelson-Keller Gateway. It creates temporary wormholes to distant points in space. No jump gates required. As they watched, hundreds of smaller human vessels began moving towards similar gateways opening throughout the solar system. They entered these portals and vanished. Our first wave of explorers is departing now, Dr. Nelson said. They will establish outposts for those who follow. The main exodus begins in 2 weeks. The council chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. Their greatest control over space travel had just become meaningless. The Galactic Council met for 3 days straight after Dr. Nelson's demonstration. Arguments flew back and forth between those who wanted to stop the humans by force and those who urged caution. In the end, they reached a decision. High Counselor Maz Tour stood before the full assembly. The council has voted. We will issue an ultimatum to Earth. They must surrender all advanced technology and accept permanent monitoring stations on their world. If they refuse, we will impose the highest level of sanctions and declare them a rogue species. The message was sent to Earth immediately. The council expected fear, perhaps panic from the humans. They were wrong. Earth replied that they would send a representative to discuss the matter. 2 days later, a small human ship arrived at Nexus Prime. It wasn't Ambassador Carter who stepped off the ship, but a junior diplomat named Paul Green. "Where is your ambassador?" demanded Maztour when Green entered the chamber. "Ambassador Carter sends his regrets," Green said politely. "He is currently overseeing evacuation preparations and cannot leave Earth at this time." "This is an insult," shouted the Krex representative. "They send a nobody to answer our ultimatum." Paul Green remained calm. "I am fully authorized to receive your message and relay Earth's response." Maztour's skin darkened with anger, but he kept his voice level. "Very well. The Council's terms are clear. Earth must surrender all gateway technology and accept permanent Council monitoring. Failure to comply will result in your classification as a rogue species. All trade and communication with Council worlds will end. You will be alone and cut off." Green nodded. "I understand. Earth has prepared a response in video format, if you'll permit me to play it." The council screen lit up, showing President Olivia Daniels sitting at her desk. Behind her was not the usual presidential seal, but a new emblem showing Earth with stars around it. "Greetings, counselors," she began. "I have received your ultimatum and discussed it with Earth's leadership. Our answer is no." She leaned forward slightly. "For decades, we tried to join your community as equals. You denied us that right. Now that we found our own path, you demand we surrender the very technology that gives us freedom." Her voice remained calm but firm. "We will not give up our independence. We will not submit to your monitoring. And we are not afraid of your sanctions." The president gestured to someone off-screen, and the view changed to show Earth's moon. Massive engines now covered nearly half its surface. In 1 week, our moon begins its journey. It has been converted into our largest vessel, with room for over 2 billion people inside its protective shell. The rest of humanity will travel in our arcs, or through gateways to new homes we've already begun preparing. The screen split to show different parts of Earth. People were boarding enormous ships, carrying only essential belongings. There was no panic, only purpose. "As for your threat to cut us off," President Daniels continued as the camera returned to her, "you should know that human traders have already established direct contact with 17 species outside your approved channels. We offer fair prices and advanced technology without your taxes or restrictions. Many have expressed interest in dealing directly with us after we leave." In the council chamber, Representatives looked at each other with alarm. This was unexpected. "We bear no ill will toward the Council," Daniels finished. "We simply choose freedom over submission. The people of Earth wish you peace, but we will defend ourselves if attacked. This is our final communication on this matter." The screen went dark. Paul Green stood calmly before the stunned Council. "That concludes Earth's official response. My ship departs in 1 hour if any of you wish to send personal messages to contacts on Earth. This will be the last direct flight between our worlds." "You're making a terrible mistake," Maztor said. "No species can survive alone, without the Council's protection." Green smiled slightly. "With respect, High Counselor, we won't be alone. We'll be free." As Green left the chamber, urgent messages flew between Council representatives. 7 species immediately requested private meetings with the human before his departure. They had questions about these direct trade arrangements President Daniels had mentioned. The Krex representative approached Maztor. "We must take military action now, before more ships leave." "It's too late," Ilara Tulvan said, joining them. "Look at these reports. Human outposts are already appearing in regions we've never mapped. They're establishing a new network beyond our reach." Maztor stared at the data in disbelief. How could we have misjudged them so badly? Earth had never been so busy. Every city, every port, every spaceport worked around the clock. People moved with purpose, following plans practiced for years. There was no panic, just a steady flow of humanity preparing to leave their ancient home. Frank Cooper stood on his balcony in Chicago, watching as the last civilian transport ships filled with families. His own bags were packed. His transport would leave tomorrow. "I never thought I'd actually see this day," he said to his daughter Amy, who stood beside him. "Are you sad to leave?" Amy asked. Frank looked at the city he'd lived in for 60 years. "Yes and no. Earth has been our only home for all of human history, but what waits for us out there is freedom." Above them, the night sky looked different now. The moon was noticeably larger and brighter, as its engines gently pushed it into a higher orbit. Soon it would break free entirely. "Look, Dad," Amy pointed upward. "You can see the dome shields now." Frank nodded. The moon's surface shimmered with the massive energy shields that now covered many of its craters. Those craters had been converted into vast living spaces where billions would live during the journey. "Your brother better hurry with those last soil samples," Frank said. "His team only has 3 more days before the final transports leave." In space, the Galactic Council ships maintained their position around Earth. They had been joined by diplomatic vessels from 12 different species, all claiming to be there to observe the human departure. In truth, many were secretly negotiating with Earth for technology or future trade deals. Commander Xinvar received yet another message from Council headquarters. This one ordered him to attempt one last diplomatic solution. He sighed as he prepared his shuttle for descent to Earth. His small craft landed at what had once been the United Nations building in New York. Most of the city was empty now, with only essential workers remaining. He was escorted to a small office where a human woman waited. "I am Linda Peters, Acting Secretary of External Affairs," she said. "Ambassador Carter asked me to meet with you." "Where is your ambassador?" Shinvar asked, annoyed at being handed off to yet another junior official. "He left yesterday for our new coordination center on Lunar Base Alpha," Linda replied calmly. "Most of our government has already transferred there." Sinvar placed a datapad on the table. "The Council has authorized me to offer Earth immediate full membership status if you halt the Exodus now." Linda glanced at the pad but didn't touch it. "That's very generous, Commander. Unfortunately, it's too late. Over 60% of our population has already departed. The moon begins its main engine burn in 48 hours. "You don't understand," Shinvar said, leaning forward. "No species has ever rejected Council membership once offered. This is unprecedented." Linda smiled politely. "So is converting a moon into a spaceship. We seem to be breaking many precedents." Why are you doing this? Shinvar asked, genuine confusion in his voice. Why leave everything you know? Because we want to chart our own path, Linda said simply. The council made it clear we would always be second-class members at best. We deserve better. She looked at her watch. I'm sorry, but I have a shuttle leaving in 20 minutes. I'm needed on the moon. So that's it? Shinvar asked. Thousands of years of galactic civilization means nothing to you. On the contrary, Linda said as she stood, we learned from your civilization's mistakes. We're building something better. She handed him a small data chip. This contains coordinates where human representatives can be contacted in the future if the council ever wishes to establish relations as equals. As Shinvar returned to his ship, he watched massive engines firing all across Earth's moon. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the ancient satellite was pulling away from its orbit. On Lunar Base Alpha, now the capital of humanity, President Olivia Daniels stood before a window looking back at Earth. Behind her, thousands of people worked at control stations managing the greatest migration in human history. Madam President, an aide said, it's time for your address. Daniels nodded and stepped before the cameras. Her image would be seen by every human across the solar system and beyond. People of Earth, of Luna, of Mars, and of the new colonies, she began. Today we do not abandon our home. We take it with us to the stars. Earth had never been so busy. Every city, every port, every spaceport worked around the clock. People moved with purpose, following plans practiced for years. There was no panic, just a steady flow of humanity preparing to leave their ancient home. Frank Cooper stood on his balcony in Chicago, watching as the last civilian transport ships filled with families. His own bags were packed. His transport would leave tomorrow. I never thought I'd actually see this day, he said to his daughter Amy, who stood beside him. Are you sad to leave? Amy asked. Frank looked at the city he'd lived in for 60 years. Yes and no. Earth has been our only home for all of human history, but what waits for us out there is freedom. Above them, the night sky looked different now. The moon was noticeably larger and brighter as its engines gently pushed it into a higher orbit. Soon it would break free entirely. Look, Dad, Amy pointed upward. You can see the dome shields now. Frank nodded. The moon's surface shimmered with the massive energy shields that now covered many of its craters. Those craters had been converted into vast living spaces where billions would live during the journey. Your brother better hurry with those last soil samples, Frank said. His team only has 3 more days before the final transports leave. In space, the Galactic Council ships maintained their position around Earth. They had been joined by diplomatic vessels from 12 different species, all claiming to be there to observe the human departure. In truth, many were secretly negotiating with Earth for technology or future trade deals. Commander Xinvar received yet another message from Council headquarters. This one ordered him to attempt one last diplomatic solution. He sighed as he prepared his shuttle for descent to Earth. His small craft landed at what had once been the United Nations building in New York. Most of the city was empty now, with only essential workers remaining. He was escorted to a small office where a human woman waited. I am Linda Peters, Acting Secretary of External Affairs, she said. Ambassador Carter asked me to meet with you. Where is your ambassador? Shinvar asked, annoyed at being handed off to yet another junior official. He left yesterday for our new coordination center on Lunar Base Alpha, Linda replied calmly. Most of our government has already transferred there. Shinvar placed a datapad on the table. The Council has authorized me to offer Earth immediate full membership status if you halt the exodus now. Linda glanced at the pad but didn't touch it. That's very generous, Commander. Unfortunately, it's too late. Over 60% of our population has already departed. The moon begins its main engine burn in 48 hours. You don't understand, Shinvar said, leaning forward. No species has ever rejected Council membership once offered. This is unprecedented. Linda smiled politely. So is converting a moon into a spaceship. We seem to be breaking many precedents. Why are you doing this? Chinvar asked, genuine confusion in his voice. Why leave everything you know? Because we want to chart our own path, Linda said simply. The council made it clear we would always be second-class members at best. We deserve better. She looked at her watch. I'm sorry, but I have a shuttle leaving in 20 minutes. I'm needed on the moon. So that's it? Shinvar asked. Thousands of years of galactic civilization means nothing to you. On the contrary, Linda said as she stood, we learned from your civilization's mistakes. We're building something better. She handed him a small data chip. This contains coordinates where human representatives can be contacted in the future if the Council ever wishes to establish relations as equals. As Sinvar returned to his ship, he watched massive engines firing all across Earth's moon. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the ancient satellite was pulling away from its orbit. On Lunar Base Alpha, now the capital of humanity, President Olivia Daniels stood before a window looking back at Earth. Behind her, thousands of people worked at control stations managing the greatest migration in human history. Madam President, an aide said, "It's time for your address." Daniels nodded and stepped before the cameras. Her image would be seen by every human across the solar system and beyond. People of Earth, of Luna, of Mars, and of the new colonies, she began. Today we do not abandon our home. We take it with us to the stars.